Samsung's chief lawyer admitted to bribing and fabricating evidence on the order of Samsung's CEO. Samsung's CEO also used several of his executives as scapegoats to pass the blame for several undisclosed financial scandals.
Who's responsible for this?
Many critics claim that Samsung has the South Korean government in the palm of its hand, saying that they have a history of shutting down smaller businesses that compete with them, and collaborating with other large businesses to fix prices. An economist from the Washington Post once wrote that the South Korean people have come to think of Samsung as invincible and above the law. Samsung is also guilty of several instances of false advertising. The Federal Trade Commission received a tip that said Samsung had hired students to attack their competitors in online forums. After they were found out, they made an announcement on their Facebook page saying they didn't do it. In 2014, one of the companies that Samsung subcontracted for manufacturing was busted for violating child labor laws. HEG Electronics had employed over 10 children under 16 years old to work in one of its factories. Samsung said that it had conducted an investigation prior to this discovery and found no child or student working in this facility. Liar! An organization called Child Labor Watch has investigated many of Samsung's factories and has uncovered instances of unpaid overtime wages, more than 200 monthly overtime hours, abuse of labor dispatch and student workers, and occupational safety concerns. The day that Child Labor Watch arrived to conduct an investigation about the HTNS factory in China, the factory immediately let go 3 of its underage workers, one of which was working under a false identity that the factory gave her. A vocational school in China supplied underage students to a local factory to build Samsung electronics. Even though Samsung and the school were quick to deny these claims, Child Labor Watch supplied overwhelming evidence that they had supplied students between the ages of 14 to 16 years old to work at the factories. In one of Samsung's semiconductor plants, over 200 employees were diagnosed with cancer that was directly related to chemical exposure in their factories. The number of employees that have become ill and died is continuing to rise. Samsung has done very little, and in some cases nothing at all, to compensate these employees for medical expenses. In 2010, the European Trade Commission fined Samsung and a group of other electronics companies for working together to fix prices of flat panel monitors at a higher rate. It was also discovered that this cartel of companies was fixing prices in Canada. In 2012, a court returned a verdict overwhelmingly in favor of Apple Incorporated against Samsung for infringing on Apple's intellectual property, including Apple's hardware and software designs. There are also several instances of Samsung Galaxy phones' batteries exploding. A Swiss teen was left with second and third degree burns after her Galaxy S3 exploded in her lap. There were also burn cases related to battery explosions in Pakistan and Russia. And finally, in the United Kingdom, there was a report of a Galaxy battery exploding and setting a baby stroller on fire.